Let's get started. So good evening and welcome everyone to our Local Cultural Council applicant webinar. Before we get started, we want to let everyone know that we have closed captioning services turned on for this webinar, and you can turn them on by clicking the CC button at the bottom of your screen. If you have questions or comments during the webinar, please feel free to put them in the Q&A box, and a staff member on the team will respond. I will also try to address a few questions towards the end if we have time. To better introduce myself, my name is Timothea Pham, and I am a program officer with the Community Initiative at the Mass Cultural Council. I am here today with a few of my team members from the communities team. We have Hanako Brace, we have Ricky Guillaume, and Lisa Simmons, our program manager. So today I have a presentation for you all where I will be walking through FAQs, a little bit about the guidelines, and I will actually also be walking you through an application through our grants management system. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A, and one of our team members will definitely try to answer them during the webinar. So before we get started, I just wanted to introduce the Massachusetts Cultural Council. If you are not familiar with our state arts agency, it is a state arts agency whose goal is to promote excellence, inclusion, education, and diversity in the arts, humanities, and sciences, and fostering a rich cultural life for all Mass residents and contributing to the vitality of our communities and economy. The Mass Cultural Council has a number of different grants, initiatives, and advocacy for individual artists, communities, including LCCs, cultural districts, festivals, organizations, and schools as well. And we receive an annual appropriation from the state legislature and funds from the National Endowment for the Arts and a few others. If you do have questions about the Mass Cultural Council and want to explore more of our offerings, please visit our website, massculturalcouncil.org. So for the agenda today, I'm going to be giving you an introduction to our community initiative team, an overview of the Local Cultural Council program. I'm also going to be providing examples of funded LCC projects. I will also be providing an online timeline of the application, a review of the guidelines and eligibility for applying, an overview of the application process, and again, if we have time, some Q&A. This is our community initiative team. If you attended our webinar last year, you might see some new faces, and we are very excited to welcome some of our new team members. So we have Lisa Simmons, who's our community initiative program manager. We have Hanako Brace. We have Carolyn Cole, who works with our cultural districts. We have Gelmi Espinal. We have Ricky Guillaume, myself, Timothea Pham, and Jay Wong. And each of us works with communities in different regions. So for example, I work with communities in the greater Boston area, greater Springfield area, and the islands. And if you want to learn more about which regions we work with and to find your regional staff contact, that can also be found online. So a little bit about the Local Cultural Council program, if you are not familiar with it. It is the largest grassroots cultural funding network in the US. There are 329 local cultural councils that serve every city and town, and currently there are more than 2,400 volunteers serving statewide. So each local cultural council is made up of municipally appointed volunteers, with the exception of cities like Boston, Cambridge, Somerville, Northampton, and a few others. So the program itself was formed in 1990 through a merger of two previously separate agencies, the Massachusetts Council on the Arts and Humanities and Massachusetts Arts Lottery Council. We receive our funding, so the Local Cultural Council program receives its funding from the state legislature and the National Endowment for the Arts. And with that, we are able to allocate a yearly allocation to local cultural councils, which then re-grant funds to individuals and organizations in their communities. And basically, these funds do go to projects that are related to the arts, humanities, and sciences that provide public benefit. and the amount of money allocated to each community is determined by using the state's local aid formulas established by the legislature. So this is a question that we get a lot from potential applicants, are what are some examples of LCC funded projects and what is possible? So these are a few examples that were taken from a blog post that we created as a community team at the end of our last grant cycle. So I just wanted to point out a few of those just to show what's possible, but also just to highlight some really exciting things that are happening across the state. So the Chesterfield Cultural Council supported a project produced by the Hilltown Community Development Corporation called Fun with Food. And this project brought in musicians, chefs, artists, and cultural educators to the Hilltown Mobile Market, which is a local farmers market, to enliven their weekly markets. The Franklin Cultural Council supported Diwali Celebration, a program produced by the Franklin Public Library as part of their strategic initiative to celebrate the vibrant and diverse cultural heritage of their community. The Gloucester Cultural Council supported the Manship Artist Residency's Firefly Watch, which is a community science project where grad students help develop and establish programming for friends and family who wanted to work towards restoring their populations in that local area. The Lowell Cultural Council supported a 4-sculpture project from the Lowell Housing Authority called Celebrating the Diversity That Surrounds Us. And these sculptures were built to really draw the attention to the rich diversity and immigrant heritage in the Acre, which is that physical area of the Lowell Housing Authority. And the Martha's Vineyard Regional Cultural Council supported the annual Native American Artisans Festival organized by the organization Aquinnah Cultural Center, which featured Native American artists and included a wide range of arts and activities. So as for the timeline, this is what you will expect. So September 1st, which opened recently, the application went live. And around that time, or specifically on September 1st, LCCs updated their local guidelines and their priorities, as well as their contact information on their public page. So I'm going to go over how to access that public page during the next few slides. And the application closes on October 17th at 11:59 p.m. This is a hard deadline, so please stick with that. And from November to December, LCCs will hold voting meetings to review applications, and LCCs will also send their denial letters to applicants that are not funded, and they will be waiting 15 days. And during these 15 days, applicants who have been denied can request for reconsideration. And if you all have questions about that, we can go over that afterwards. So on January 17th, councils will file their annual report, and from January to March, LCCs will send notifications to applicants. So let's talk about LCC applicant eligibility. Who is eligible to apply for an LCC grant? So first, applicants must reside or be located in Massachusetts. LCCs may accept applications from anyone included in the list below. So we have individuals, and these individual applicants must show that a public benefit results from the project for which they are applying. We have incorporated private nonprofit organizations, unincorporated associations that can establish a nonprofit objective. And this will include, for example, local community bands, theater groups, art collectives. So again, a group of individuals coming together with a common purpose that do not have a nonprofit status. Public schools, libraries, other municipal agencies, such as your Parks and Rec department or your planning department, and the local cultural council itself, and religious organizations are also eligible to apply. However, LCCs can only approve applications that are primarily cultural in their intent and do not have the effect of advancing religion. So what's listed on here is who is eligible, but what's left out is who is not eligible. So for the only entity that we see as not being eligible to apply for an LCC grant would be a for-profit business or a for-profit organization. So let's talk a little bit about LCC funding criteria. So the first three rules listed below are the categories that local cultural councils must follow when reviewing their applications. So first, a project must belong to the arts, humanities, and the sciences, but they must be related to those buckets. We have public benefit. Local cultural council funds must be used to support activities that contribute to the cultural vitality of the community rather than benefiting any private individual or group. However, this does not mean that a large crowd of people needs to participate to satisfy the public benefit requirement. So basically, when it comes to public benefit, serving a lot of people doesn't necessarily mean that a project has more public benefit than a project that is possibly doing a class for seniors at the senior center. Public benefit really depends on the local cultural council's interpretation, but also the community and the area where you're applying to. Again, if you do have questions about these, reach out directly to your local cultural council and our staff at the Mass Cultural Council. We're more than happy to help make that connection or just to clarify anything you have questions about. So again, with the criteria, another point is non-discrimination. LCCs may not discriminate against applicants and/or programs on the basis of age, ability, ethnicity, race, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, nationality, geographic origin or immigration, military or socioeconomic status. And the fourth point is local criteria. So aside from these points that we've put forward for local cultural councils, each LCC will have their local guidelines and their priorities. And in the next couple slides, I will be walking you through how to access that information. So for grant restrictions, are there any? And the answer is yes. Grant funds received from an LCC may not be used to purchase food or beverages. Now I understand that there may be some gray areas. So again, it's always great to clarify, not only with the LCC, but with the Mass Cultural Council as well. Although individual students are not eligible to apply for scholarships, an organization may apply to an LCC to sponsor a scholarship, provided the council feels that the program provides sufficient public benefit and meets all other state and local criteria. So again, the two grant restrictions are refreshments and scholarships. So now I'm going to point you towards a few links. So at the beginning of this presentation, I did not tell you that a recording would be available, but notes will also be available as well. So that will include our contact information, but also all of these links that are listed in this presentation. So we have our LCC guidelines here. I'll just give you an idea of what that looks like. It is a document that all LCC members have access to. And what I just went through are the eligibility, the criteria, and the grant restrictions. So for eligibility, something that I did not mention, but I do want to mention now is about program eligibility, and applicants may apply for grants for programs that take place during an 18-month window of eligibility from July 1st, preceding the application deadline in October through December 31st of the following year. However, again, local cultural councils might have voted to have a specific window of funding. So again, it's always important to check in with them about that. So we have our local priorities. So this is how you will specifically find your local cultural council to review local priorities and guidelines. This is a website that, and this page is found on our website. So I'm actually going to just walk you through an example, just so you can see. So let's choose Brookline. So the LCC in Brookline is called the Brookline Commission for the Arts. You have your mission statement, you have their contact information. So Jillian is the staff administrator there. We have their social media, so you can connect with them. follow updates and connect with them in that way. And then you'll have their application information. So what you'll see is their allocation, and then you'll take a look at their local priorities and application guidelines. So again, prioritization points, specific guidelines, and what they're looking for in their application. And this is going to be a really important piece to look at when you're applying, especially if you're applying to multiple local cultural councils, how grant recipients are paid. So Brookline, for example, is a direct granting council, which means they provide funds upfront. Local cultural councils can either be direct granting councils or they can be reimbursement-based granting councils. So again, the procedures of receiving your grant is a little bit different depending on the two, but again, definitely take a look at this. And also on each of these pages, you have the FY22 funding list, which is really great. You get to see a number of different examples of what's been funded in the past. You can also take a look at their funding range, right? So from what I see here, the funding minimum that they gave out last year was $350, and their maximum was $1,250 for Brookline Porch Fest. So again, this is just an example of a local cultural council profile, but if you're applying to multiple or if you're applying to one, definitely it is a requirement for you just to take a look at this. And then last, FAQs for applicants. This page is extremely helpful. We've been updating it over the years, just including your questions, which are extremely great and extremely helpful. So if you don't see your question addressed on this page, again, please reach out to us. So right now I'm going to do an overview of the application process. So I'm going to be sharing my screen and I'm going to be walking you through the homepage, how to register as an individual, how to register as an organization. I'm also going to give you a look at what a homepage looks like from the perspective of an individual and the perspective of an organization. And I will also be walking you through the actual application. So the link that you will be using to log in is massculturalcouncil.smartsimple.com. Right now I'm in my backup site, but again, this is a link that's going to be dropped in the chat, massculturalcouncil.smartsimple.com. And if I am new and I have not applied for a grant before, I am going to click register. And so it will take you to this page. Am I applying as an individual or am I applying as an organization? So if I'm applying as an individual, I am applying for a grant for myself as a part of a collaboration or for a project that I am leading. In this case, I am the grant applicant and the potential grantee. And if I'm registering as an organization, I am applying on behalf of an organization. So organizations would include schools, cities and towns, unincorporated groups. In this case, the organization is considered the application and the potential grantee. So right now, let's take a look at registering as an individual. So it's pretty basic. Again, you're going to fill this out. So you're going to have your first name, your last name, pronouns, email address, phone number, website, if you choose, your Massachusetts address, and then optional demographics. And again, it is optional, but the reason why we are including this, it is to really enhance our data collection in terms of helping us understand who we're reaching and who we're not. Again, we are in a period of change and we definitely want to be understanding this piece when it comes to outreach as well. So again, it is optional. So if you do not want to answer this, you can click skip question. And afterwards, you are going to review the terms and conditions and the privacy policy. So if you agree, click I agree. And I would definitely recommend signing up for our monthly newsletter. And then afterwards, you're going to click Submit. So right now, we're going to register as an organization. So for the organization registration, if your organization does not pop up, I'm creating a fictional organization, the Newton Community School. You're going to register your organization manually using this form. So again, if it does not pop up, that means the organization is not registered in the system. So in order to register, we're going to have to complete this pre-registration eligibility quiz and click Submit. And as we reviewed before, this is just a categorization piece. And is your organization an incorporated for-profit entity such as a business, corporation, or limited liability company? And right now, fictionally, I'm creating this in my head. I'm going to say no, it is a nonprofit. That doesn't, if it is a for-profit, you would be eligible for possibly other programs, but again, it doesn't affect your registration, what you put in this case. So right now, I passed the eligibility quiz, and then I'm going to put my organization name, phone number, address, official city, county, region, state, country, zip code, tax ID number, legal status. So a number of different options here. So as I stated, the hypothetical organization is a nonprofit. And then does your organization operate under a parent organization? So examples would include a museum at a university, a parks department of a city or town. So again, the parent organization would, for example, be the city of Medford, and it would be Department of Public Works for Medford. And another example would include Massachusetts, a branch of a national organization. So if you belong to a parent organization, click yes or no. So the contact information, you are going to put your contact information here, your first name, your last name, title, email, and phone. And there is a question that, can an organization have multiple contacts? And the answer is yes. Yes, it can. And click here if you are the executive director or the equivalent. Click here if you're the accessibility coordinator. And then again, read terms and conditions and privacy policy. And if you agree, click I agree. And then if you want to subscribe to the Mass Cultural Council monthly newsletter, click yes. And then you are going to submit as well. So right now that I just went through registering your organization manually, but let's just say the organization that I'm part of is here. I'm a new employee, so I'm just gonna do this, for example. Oh, that was the Newton Community Farm. I will use that as an example. So I'm a new employee of the Newton Community Farm. I've just been asked to apply for an LCC grant by my executive director. So I'm registering as a new contact. So I'm going to put my first name, my last name, my email address, phone number. If I'm the executive director or equivalent, am I the accessibility coordinator? And then if I agree with the terms and conditions and use of privacy policy, I'll click I agree. And then if you want to subscribe again, click yes, and then submit. So right now we have just walked through the process of registering as an individual and as an organization. So I am going to walk you through the application process at the moment. So right now I'm going to log in as an individual. Great. So this is what I'm going to see. Current opportunities, apply to a local cultural council, my profile, and change password. So there might be a number of questions coming from existing local cultural council members who do want to apply for a local cultural council grant. If you don't see this, and if you see a local cultural council login, that means you have to create another profile categorized as a grant-seeking individual with a different email address. that will allow you to apply for a local cultural council grant. And again, if you do have questions about that, please feel free to let us know. So right now, I am ready to apply to a local cultural council. Great, serving every city and town in Massachusetts. The deadline is October 17th. And because I used Brookline earlier, and because I visited their public profile, I am going to apply to Brookline. Click Save Draft before beginning. Great, so I'm going to do that after I answer the eligibility. So please keep in mind, we are going to be referring to the information that we went over in the previous slides in terms of funding criteria, in terms of eligibility. So does the proposed project meet the Mass Cultural Council's definitions of the arts, humanities, and sciences? So I think it'd be helpful just to give like another hypothetical example. I am a photographer who is looking to do a community-based photography project in Brookline. So does the proposed project meet the definition of arts, humanities, and sciences? I would say yes, it is. Does the proposed project provide public benefit by contributing to the community as a whole, rather than only benefiting a single individual or a specific group? And I would say yes, because it would be a community-based project, as I have explained. Does the applicant reside in, or is the applicant located in Massachusetts? I do currently live in Massachusetts. Am I applying for a grant on behalf of a religious organization or group with a religious affiliation? I am not. However, if you are a member of a church who's trying to do a concert series, for example, you might click yes. And this question will pop up. Is the proposed project or program primarily cultural in intent? A concert series, I would say yes, it is primarily cultural in intent. But just going back to my original example, no. Does the proposed project or program discriminate or discourage participation on the basis of race, gender, religious creed, color, national origin, ancestry, disability, sexual orientation, or age? It does not. Is the proposed project or program accessible to persons with disabilities? So with my community-based project, I'm planning on having not only an in-person reception, but a reception online where people can view it and actually view the photographs and actually listen to an audio recording. So trying to think about accessibility in that sense, I would say yes, I'm doing my best to make sure that the program is accessible to persons with disabilities. And so will LCC grant funds be used to purchase food or refreshments? It will not, because just remembering that slide. 2, grant restrictions. Refreshments is one of them. So have you read and understood the LCC program guidelines as well as the specific council priorities of the LCC to which you are applying? I think so. So we're going to click yes. So afterwards, we're going to click Save Draft. And then we're going to check eligibility. Great, I have successfully completed the eligibility quiz. So click on the Proceed button to begin the application. Awesome. So great. Applicant information. This is what you're going to look like, what the application will look like once you finish this. Reviewing my primary contact information. Is this correct? Is the information displayed correct? It is. So after that, I'm going to click Save Draft. And this is highly recommended when you're going through your application. Just click Save Draft always, just to make sure everything is saved. Another tip that I would suggest is when you're going through the application, you can copy and paste your answers onto a text document in case a technical error happens. So next, we're going to go to project information. So amount requested. So with my photography project, how much will I need? My total project cost might be a lot more than what I'm requesting, but for Brookline, I might be requesting $500. And so project discipline, like I said, I would be doing a photography project. Project title, let's make something up. Brookline through the years, a community photography project. When will the project take place? I'm thinking sometime spring of next year, so I have some time to do it. Where would it take place? I might say Brookline Town Commons. Estimated number of people served, potentially because I'm thinking about outreach and I want to potentially partner with different organizations. That would be great to, be able to serve 250 community members. And does this project primarily serve school children? It does not. So again, save draft. Right, so you've completed your applicant information and your project information. And so right now we are going to go through the project overview. So the first question is, first area where you will be submitting an answer would be summarize the proposed project or program. So as you can see here, there are 900 characters left. So if this right here starts populating as red text, that means that you have gone over the character limit. And just working on these grants, a lot of people, most of the time, this is their biggest issue. You can't submit, they can't submit, and just double check your character limit again. So who is the target audience for this project? So specific individuals who you're hoping to attract or to attend to participate in a project. What is the cost of participation for attendees, if any? And how does the proposed project provide public benefit and contribute to the cultural vitality of the community as a whole? So again, going through what we discussed previously about public benefit. Please describe the qualification of key artists, humanists, interpretive scientists, or organizations involved with leading the cultural component of this program. So for example, I would be the key artist. Even though I'm thinking of partnering with different organizations, I will be listing my qualifications and including a short bio in this area. But for the next question, if there are any other individuals or organizations that will be involved in the project as planners, partners, collaborators, please list them below. If applicable, please distinguish between those who have made a firm commitment to the project and those with tentative or potential involvement. So again, I would list those organizations and I would do my best to try to find a venue or just to, start communicating with them as much as possible. How are you planning to promote the project to the community and your target audience? So in this section, you'll probably list details about your marketing plan, your outreach, your publicity. And again, you want to click Save Draft. So going over, we did applicant information, project overview, and now we're going to fill out our budget. For the project budget, this is where you're going to go. You're going to click on the green button here. And here you are actually going to list all of your expenses in your project. So for example, if I'm an artist and I want to do a gallery show, what you might need are supplies and materials. This might be dollars. And if you need, more marketing and promotion, you could do Facebook ad. So something that we did want to emphasize is all of these cash expenses and all of these line items do not have to equal the amount that you request from a local cultural council. Again, these are all of the expenses in your project, and local cultural councils do want to see all of these costs, as it does help them make a final decision. Save. And again, that is how you complete the project budget. So afterwards, you have your projected income. So please describe briefly the other sources of projected income needed to complete this project. So if my entire project costs potentially $2,000, but I'm only requesting a certain amount from the LCC, I would describe, what other sources of income that I would need to complete this project. And in-kind support, if applicable, please briefly describe any in-kind support you are getting for this project. So anything that's donated. And then how will you adjust the project if the council cannot fund the entire amount you are requesting? For example, how would you raise additional funds or scale the programming back? So if you have applied to other local cultural councils for funding for this project, please list the names of those councils below. So again, there are individuals and organizations that apply to multiple local cultural councils, and every town and city gets a different allocation. Some might not receive as many funds as others. So when you are listing this, it really does help the local cultural council figure out how much money you really do need for your project to really happen. And again, it is just really helpful to list this out. We're going to click Save Draft. And then we are going to go to our additional materials. So supplemental materials are limited to a total of 3 printed pages. All pages must be in a PDF file format. You have a few links here that you can go to actually convert your JPEG or your other documents to a PDF, and then you will be uploading that here, right? So you can drag and drop and choose files from your specific computer. Supplemental materials aren't necessarily required by us, but they might be required by your local cultural council. So again, please check in with them. And then afterwards, we are super close to being done, and are you ready to submit? So once you've reviewed everything and once you are confident that that is the application you want to submit, you will click this button, I agree, to provide an authorized signature. And then once you submit this, you will see, congratulations, you have successfully submitted your application. Click on the home button to return to your home portal. So always, I would always recommend clicking this button, application summary, just to provide a PDF of your application, just so you can have. But in case you misplace it, you can definitely reach out to us and we can be able to provide a copy for you. So again, since I didn't really fill out everything, I can't really submit, but you'll be clicking the submit button. Great. So that is the profile of an individual. So I'm just going to quickly go log in as an organization, just so you see the difference between an individual profile and an organizational profile. Great. So you have your current opportunities, your apply to a local cultural council profile, organizational profile, and then you can keep track of your applications here as well. Again, very similar to the profile of an individual, but again, this is the organizational profile, and the process is the same. Great. So now that I've walked you all through the application process through the grants management system, I just wanted to share some tips and suggestions before we get to more questions and answers. So start early. It is early, the application just opened, but again, I wouldn't encourage you to wait until the last minute. Again, these are applications, even though it is more of a simple application, it does take some time. So again, just give yourself enough time to complete that. Do your research. Again, just going through the documents that we've shared with you, the LCC program guidelines, local priorities and guidelines of local cultural councils, and kind of research maybe who they've funded in the past, and maybe connect with other past applicants as well, or people who are applying. That could be helpful. And don't just copy and paste an existing proposal. Local cultural councils do community input every year. And because of that, this is what informs their local guidelines and priorities. So they might be looking for something new every year. Again, communities are changing really rapidly, so just make sure your proposal might be adjusting to those changes too. And reach out to LCC members and Mass Cultural Council program staff. We are more than happy to help. Reach out to potential partners and host venues. Something that I've seen on local cultural council guidelines are the requirement of host venues. Especially during COVID, we've encouraged them to be a little bit more flexible, but it's because they just want to make sure that your projects happen. So again, reach out to them and then create a realistic budget. Some budgets or some allocations, again, are larger than others. So yeah, create one. And something else that we did want to remind you all about is our cultural sector recovery grants. This is the link to individuals, and that the deadline for that is November 1st, 2022. And for organizations, the deadline is September 28th to 2022. So coming up pretty soon, and we have our completely different teams working on that, but again, you can always reach out to us if you have questions. So this is a list of our contact information. Again, this will be sent in notes and it will be available in the recording that will be sent out afterwards.